When there are major disasters around the globe, humanitarian Bryn Mooser has found his way there. He served with the Peace Corps in West Africa. In 2010, he helped build Haiti's largest cholera center after the country was hit by a devastating earthquake. Then in 2012, Bryn was named one of Esquire magazine's Americans of the Year. He's the co-founder of Riot, the first breaking news website that connects every story to an opportunity to take action. And he's an award-winning filmmaker whose 11th film, Body Team 12, won the 2015 Tribeca Film Festival Award for Best Documentary Short. The film profiles an Ebola health worker in Liberia. Not just any health worker, though. This one is the only woman working with a team tasked with removing bodies during the height of the Ebola epidemic. Moved by the bravery of these body collectors, Bryn was struck by the courage and love of country exhibited by one particular worker, Garmai.
Where you go in, you see blood all over. I'm not just afraid like some people, even some men, they are afraid of dead bodies. You see blood everywhere. You see blood coming out of the eyes, the nose, the mouth. And I am not afraid to go to such body. I'm the first person to enter. Without me, the body team can enter.
Somebody be wearing gloves and come for this thing.
I'm the only female on my team, Team 12. It's important to have female on the team because females are mothers, sisters. We are soft people. We make sure that, especially men who are downhearted, be someone strong for tomorrow, especially the work we are doing. It's important to have us on the team. Without us, no way. Some men get on the team, they are scared. They are scared to even touch. And they just laugh, say, God is a strong person. I say, yes, I have to be strong for my country.
Bryn Mooser is here to share with us his experiences on this very moving documentary. He's also ready to talk about his willingness to go where others will not. Welcome to Full Frame.
Thank you.
Amazing, moving. I want to talk a lot about that because it's just a very, very powerful film. But let's talk about you to start with.
Sure.
I mean, you go off, you join the Peace Corps. How did that shape who Bryn Mooser is today, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Peace Corps was the most extraordinary experience I had. It was about 3 years living in West Africa in the Gambia. And I think that, you know, the foundations of the Peace Corps is this really simple idea: send young Americans off overseas and have them come back with an incredible experience. And to bring that story home is part of the founding principles of the Peace Corps. So certainly with what we're doing now with Riot and the films that we're making, they're based on that, you know, founding principle of the Peace Corps, which is to tell a different side of stories that are happening all over the world.
So after Haiti, you come back. That's when you start this news service,
Yeah.
Riot. But there's a key component to it. It's not just you as a viewer, it's you as engaged. There's the activation piece. How important was that? And how do you think that, why is that important, I guess is the question.
You know, my partner David and I were working in Haiti after the earthquake, and I think we were frustrated at the portrayal of Haiti in the media. And also that, you know, after the cameras left, the story sort of stopped. But the work that we were seeing was ongoing. There was still crisis. There was still a great need, you know, certainly with education, with health. And so for us as, I think, filmmakers and humanitarians first, that action piece has always been important. I sort of don't think it's fair to show somebody a film like Body Team 12 and not have that direct opportunity to help, because otherwise you're just going to depress people and you're going to make them sad, and ultimately they're going to close their computer or turn off to wanting to get involved. So I think for us there was an opportunity with news as well, where you can say, hey, here's what's happening in Syria. Instead of, you know, getting angry or depressed about it, here's how you can support, you know, local doctors, hospital workers, people who are making a difference every day. So
but sometimes it's hard to find the activation piece, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I think that everybody can do something. I think that the part that's been a challenge about finding the action part is hopefully what we're helping to do. So we spend a great deal of time of looking at nonprofits, of going and seeing the work that they're doing, of understanding that, and we work with hundreds and hundreds of these nonprofits to make sure that we provide the best action. But yeah, certainly we want to help make that part easier of how to have people get involved and help, because I think it is difficult for people to know what's the best way to take action? What's the best thing that they can do?
You know, watching the coverage of what happened with the ravages of Ebola, and I have a friend of mine who did a really lengthy piece for print, who went and spent a lot of time there, and I also know a photographer who went there as well. The difficulties of getting in and telling that story. It's not something a lot of people were like, hey, let's rush off and do this, because there are dangers. People are dying every day. So talk to me about the genesis of this film, and then kind of arriving and kind of saying, you know, look, we got to go do this, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, well, you know, the way that we approach stories at Riot is often from the humanitarian angle first. So a lot of the times, you know, for instance, our early films were, you know, set in Haiti. We did a film after Hurricane Sandy and Breezy Point. We made a film in Fukushima after the tsunami there. So we're entering these areas as humanitarians, so bringing food, water, shelter, relief, and then the stories kind of come after that. So my partner David first arrived right after the outbreak in Liberia, and was bringing chlorine, which was used by these body teams, and you know, Garmai popped out of that as such an incredible, inspiring person to him. So called me up and said, look, we've got to make a film here. And so that part of rushing in comes from the humanitarian part, and then the filmmaker part sort of comes second after that.
Well, what I love about this film is, even though it's a short, it's all encompassing, and we can talk a little bit about that. But I want to run one clip, and then maybe afterwards we'll chat about it.
Yeah.
So let's watch this.
The mother's crying. She's crying.
They carry my baby, they carry my baby, my baby not die. Ebola people carry my baby. Ebola people carry my baby. Ebola people carry my baby.
We are working, picking up their body on the street, at homes, and other places. It's not an easy task. Sometimes you go, people don't want you to take their body. They don't want you because they want to bury their loved ones.
With this film, oftentimes it's not what's said, it's what you see. It's the terror, the tears on the face. I mean, you see with these people watching this, geez, that could be me, or that's somebody I really care about. That's got to be tough stuff to be immersed in that and kind of divorce yourself, tell the story, because it's an important story to tell, and not have that kind of flood over you.
Well, this film was, I think, important for David and I to tell, because we see these images all the time of people in hazmat suits in Liberia who are working to help, and you don't oftentimes see who's behind those hazmat suits. So the film wanted to be a look into Meet Garmai, who was such an extraordinary hero. And so often when these crises and disasters happen, the thing that strikes you the most is the resilience of the human spirit, right? And you see people at their best, at their strongest, who have lost everything, and in times lost loved ones, lost their homes, but you see this strength of the human spirit, and people are helping their neighbors, are helping their communities put pieces back together, and are working hard at all costs to be able to kind of remedy the situation, or try their best to. And that's the story that we always try to capture, because you know, maybe people don't know about Liberia or about Ebola, but they will see strength in Garmai. They'll see a hero, and you know, we hope that people will either support the work that she's doing now by making a donation, or maybe it just changes things in their own life, and they can find some strength to overcome challenges that they see in Garmai's story. So that's always the hope.
And David shot this, and you can't just run in there with the camera. You've got to suit up too. I mean, and the temperatures are not like 50 degrees. I mean, this is like, it's almost suffocating. So he almost got the sense of what it must be like for them to do this day in and day out.
Absolutely, and David was shooting inside of a hazmat suit for a lot of it. He developed a new camera while he was shooting it, which was a very small, portable, tiny camera that you can just sort of hold in your hand, so he was able to get into the small spaces. And then we edited the film while he was in quarantine, which was actually an advantage because David can never be in one place at one time. So I had him locked in a room for 20-something days, which was great to be able to finish the film.
And kind of a new tactic with him. You do it all the time.
Yeah,
now.
I should tell him all the time he should be in quarantine.
I'm putting you in quarantine again.
Quarantine.
We're laughing. There's some levity, but Liberia, there's so much sadness in this film, and we saw that the pain of a mother. But then later in the film, it's the pain of the children losing their mom. I mean, it comes full circle, and then you also get her being very candid about what it's like to have that job and how people they can be standoffish. And,
sure.
When you're putting this together, what really hit you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you meet Garma in person, she is the most joyful, happy, extraordinary, strong person. She's the first to laugh and the first one to show that kind of strength. So, I hope the film doesn't come off just as sad, because the hope is that it's a story of redemption, strength, hope. And Garma is now working to take care of those children. So she runs a program that cares for the children who have lost both parents to Ebola. I mean, Ebola has, the spread of it has slowed to stopped in some places, which is great, but there is a long-term problem of that, which is oftentimes forgotten post-crisis, and there's a lot of children who have lost both parents. With Ebola, especially in Liberian culture, if one of the partners is to get sick, it's the husband or the wife who takes care of them. So the great tragedy of it is that oftentimes you would lose both parents to the disease, leaving a lot of children, like you saw in the clip, without parents. And now Garma is able to care for these kids, which is incredible. So she's not working with the body team anymore, but she's working with these kids to give them a better future and a brighter future by helping them make sure they have an education and food and water. So we're really proud that we can continue to support the work that she's doing there.
And that's the Ebola Orphans Project,
yeah,
and that she's involved in.
Absolutely.
What do you? I mean, how do you think about? I mean, after doing something like this, I mean, it's a major achievement. You know, how do you top that? I mean, how do you keep okay, what are we going to tackle next?
Yeah, I think the thing about disasters, which is a tragedy, is that they keep happening, and so we're constantly going to the next places where they happen. We're doing a lot of work right now where we're shooting. We're actually shooting right now in 5 continents, shooting virtual reality films, and those cover the range from poverty to human rights to climate to animal rights in one case. So there's no shortage of stories out there.
You know, it's a nice segue, so I'll just go there. You've got a couple of the devices here, and
yeah,
I'm just going to hand this one to you because I think this is really unique. Talk us through this one here and
sure,
how it works with the phone.
Yeah. Well, this is just a Google Cardboard. So Google actually makes this. It's the simplest way to view virtual reality. What's great about virtual reality is it's a mobile-first technology. So you actually just take your phone and put it right here and are able to watch it right like that. So in many ways, what is exciting about virtual reality is it's not like a gimmick, sort of like 3D television was, where you needed glasses and you needed a special TV and special cameras. All you need now is your cell phone, and you're able to watch right now.
Do you have to shoot differently? Do you have to think differently?
You definitely have to think differently. I mean, what's extraordinary is the camera itself is 6 to 12 cameras all strapped together. So we use a special rig that's 6 GoPros that are put together in a 3D printed case. So, I mean, it's really like, slapped together. But you put it down and you're able to shoot everything around you. And so in many ways, as a journalist, it's exciting because it's true cinema verite in some ways, right? You can't, you'll be able to see the dollies or the wires or the camera crew behind it if you're there. So really it's about putting it in a scene, getting out of the way and capturing that scene. So for journalists and filmmakers, it's really exciting.
Okay, I put this on long enough, only because I don't like the point in the broadcast where I look kind of dorky, but it comes at some point. And so then you just hit a button here on the side. And then the great thing about this is, like right now, I'm looking up and I see it's a chopper. I'm in a chopper and I look down below and I can see trees and then there's water.
Yeah.
But it's not all just gorgeous stuff. You also have, as you said, this is a way to see another part of the world and perhaps people who might be suffering or struggling.
Yeah, well, actually, that shot that you're looking at right now is a film that we're working on with the Sierra Club, and so it looks beautiful, but that actually, all those images were where a glacier used to be 80 years ago. So what we're using virtual reality to do is show how the glaciers have been receding up there. So this is like, that film in particular is the front lines of climate change right now, and that's in Alaska, right in our backyard. So it looks beautiful with a lot of trees, but those trees weren't there 80 years ago. So we're excited that a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to see firsthand, in this case, the effects of climate change. So we're hoping that people, wherever they are able to sort of see what's happening and hopefully take action.
Ultimate goal for you, just change the world.
I think ultimate goal is to try to make it a little bit better. I think the work that you learn in the Peace Corps is that you can't change the whole world, you can't save the whole world, but you can certainly do a little bit to provide a little bit of relief along the way to some people who need it. So that's the goal.
One final question. When was the last time you had a 40-hour work week?
When was the last time? Come on, that you had it. I don't think that we do that. I don't want a 40-hour work week. I think that while I'm excited and able, I want to keep working. I don't know when the last time I had a nap was, but that I could use. 40-hour work week.
Well, we'll get you into quarantine. We'll get you away from the A people, and you'll be doing just fine. You're the A team, so you ought to be able to handle that.
Thank you.
Bryn, great talking to you. Thanks so much, and really looking forward to watching you as you chart your course forward. It's fantastic.
Thanks for having me. It's exciting.